Hello everyone and welcome to the video walkthrough for Unit 11's Cloze Constructors homework assignment. In this assignment, you will be creating the backend for a basic flashcard application, which will essentially constitute of an API which allows users to create two types of flashcards. The first kind of flashcard is going to be a very basic flashcard, which has a front side and a back side. The front side is going to have a fill-in-the-blank question, so George Blank was the first president of the United States, and then the back side will have the answer that would fill in the blank. So in this case, it would be Washington, because George Washington was the first president of the United States. The second kind of flashcard is going to be a closed deleted flashcard, which will take in a complete statement, so something like George Washington was the first president of the United States, and then it's also going to take in the answer, which is going to then be removed from the complete statement in order to show a partial statement. Then, upon request, it will show the complete statement altogether. So, while the complete statement is George Washington was the first president of the United States, when we run the partial, it's going to say George ... was the first president of the United States, and then when we click either spacebar or some other button, it's going to fill in this blank and put Washington back in. Let's get started just by creating the basic card constructor. As you can see, what I've done already is I've npm installed Inquirer, and I've required it inside of our code. And now I'm just going to create our basic constructor, and it's only going to be about 3 to 4 lines long. And there you go, that's your basic card constructor. It's just going to take in a pair of strings, one for the front side, one for the back side, and then it's going to say this dot front is going to be equal to front side, and this dot back is equal to back side. Now we'll just make an Inquirer prompt, which is going to collect that front side and back side information. And there we go. So we have an Inquirer prompt that prompts the user twice, and it'll ask what is the question they want to ask, and then it will ask what is the answer to the above question. It then creates a new card, or a new basic card, based upon their inputs, and then console logs that card. So let's put in a question here. And you'll see that the basic card that is being returned is front, who is George Washington, back, a dude. Now, that was fine and dandy, but let's say that we want to read data and write data to this JSON file, kind of like an actual API would. Well, in order to do this, the first thing that we're going to want to go over is how to read data from a JSON. And that's actually pretty easy. All you need to do in order to read data from a JSON file is create a requirement that links to that JSON file. So in this case, I have basic cards located within the same folder as my basic card constructor. So I can just require basic cards.json, store it within this variable card data, and then console log it. And as you can see, it'll put all of the data that I want into here. So that's how we read data, but how do we write data? And in order to write data, we're going to have to use a library known as fs. So we're going to say variable fs equals require, and then fs. And you don't have to npm install fs, it's just pre-installed in every copy of Node. And then within our create new card function down here, we're going to create something that's going to add new data into our card data. So we're going to say card data dot push, and we're going to push the new card into it. Because remember, all the basic cards are stored within an array of objects. And then next, we're going to stringify this new array. And the reason why we're stringifying it, or turning this data into a string, is because when we're going to be writing to our JSON file, the only way to write to a JSON file is to write it as a string. But when it reaches the JSON file, it'll then be converted into a JSON object. When I show you this, it'll make a lot more sense. So what we've done here is we've stringified our card data and we've placed it into a new variable called new card data. You don't have to worry about this null and /t. All they are doing is going to make it so that the formatting of the string is very similar to the formatting of this JSON file that we have here. Then we use fs.writefile to write to the file of basiccards.json. We insert in that new string that we created of new card data. We run the function. If there's an error, it throws an error. If not, it says done. So let's run this and you'll see how it works. So I entered in the question of who is the best and put my name as the answer, of course. So when we go to basiccards.json, you'll see that we have who is the best and Jacob within this file here as well. So we've successfully read and written to our basiccards.json file. But we aren't done yet. Oh no, we still have to make our close card constructor, and this one's quite a bit more challenging than the basic card constructor was. So the close card, if you remember, is going to have the full text and then the answer, but the full text is then going to be changed so that the answer is removed from it. So if we were to give the full text of George Washington was the first president of the United States, and our answer was George Washington, it would say blank is the first president of the United States. So this means that the first thing that we're going to want to do is figure out where the answer is located within the full text. So let's create a variable called close positions. And this is going to store where the start and end positions are for the partial text. So we're going to create a new method within this constructor function, which is going to be called close delete, and we're going to be using that here. And it's going to take in the full text and the answer. So what we've done here is we've set a variable of start equal to the index of the answer within the full text. So if the answer is right at the beginning, then it'll have a index of 0 right there. If the start is not equal to -1, which would mean that there is no answer within our full text, then we are going to return the positions of start and also the position of start plus the length of the answer. So let's say that our answer was 5 characters long and the position of our answer was at position 0, so it would be 0 and 5. And then if it can't find any answer within the full text, it's going to throw an error saying that it could not find the answer within the full text. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create our partial statement, because at this point in time we still only have the full text statement, and that's not what we want to show. So what we're going to say is this dot partial is going to be equal to a new function of getPartial. It's going to take in the full text and also the close positions. So what we've done here is we've created two new variables, one called start, one called end. The start is going to be a slice of the full text that goes from the first letter to the start of close positions, so the start of our answer. And then the end is going to be equal to the ending of our answer to the end of our full text. Then we're going to return the start plus the end with the answer cut out and replaced with an ellipses, so 3 dots. Then the last thing that we're going to want to add up here is we're going to want to say this dot answer is going to be equal to answer, because we need to store what the answer to our flashcard is going to be. So let's just create a very simple Inquirer prompt that's going to take in the full text and an answer. So I've created our new create new card prompt here, so I'm just going to run this in Node. And once again, it would help if I actually put that down there. And as you can see, what it does is it removed George, because that was our answer, from the full text and gave us a partial of blank Washington was the first president of the United States with the answer of George. So we have successfully created the close card constructor. Now let's add in the functionality that we had in the basic card constructor, in which we can read and write from a JSON file. And as you can see, I just kind of copy and pasted most of my create new card, so I can just uncreate that, save that, and then all I need to do up here is make my requirements. So variable fs equals require fs, and then I'm going to make a variable for our card data, which is going to be equal to the file for our close cards. And as you can see, we have successfully written to our closecards.json file. So we are in business. The last little bit that I want to do is I want to create a display card function that is going to show what the full card looks like and is attached to our close card constructor. And I'm going to do this through prototyping. So I'm going to say close card.prototype display card is going to be equal to a function of display card, and it is going to console.log this.partial.replace, and it's going to be replacing the ... with this .answer. So let's run this and see how it works. But before we run it, make sure that you actually run the function within here. So we'll say card.display card. Now we can run it. And as you can see, I have made it so that it's going to say George is a cool dude by calling the card.displayCard method down here through using prototyping. So this will be applied to every card that we make. And that, everyone, is how you create your basic card constructor and your close card constructor, and also do the bonus assignment of reading and writing to a JSON file. Enjoy!